The call came on a Tuesday. I remember because I was in the middle of eating leftover meatloaf straight from the container, standing over the kitchen sink the way my late wife Margaret always hated. 60 years old, retired, finally eating dinner on my own schedule. And then my son's name lit up the screen, and something in my gut tightened before I even answered. I should have kept eating. My name is Brian Calloway. I spent 34 years as a site foreman for a commercial construction company, raising 2 kids mostly alone after Margaret passed from cancer when our son Derek was 15 and our daughter Lena was 12. I poured concrete, managed crews in the Georgia heat, and stretched every dollar so far it should have snapped. I did not do any of that so that at 60, I could become someone's personal ATM. Derek is 33 now. Married to a woman named Cassie Sweet Girl, I genuinely mean that. And they have a 3-year-old named Boo, who is the absolute light of my retirement. They bought a house 2 years ago in a suburb about 40 minutes from me. Derek works in logistics management. Cassie does part-time bookkeeping from home. They are not wealthy, but they are stable, comfortable. They chose that house, that neighborhood, that mortgage. Those were their decisions. So when Derek called me that Tuesday, chewing my meatloaf, I picked up the way I always do, happy to hear from him. Guard down. Hey, Dad. Bud, what's going on? A pause. I've known that pause for 33 years. It's the pause that came before he told me he wrecked the car at 17. The pause before he told me he failed his junior year chemistry final. Something was being arranged behind it. So, Cassie's sister is moving in with us. I set the meatloaf down. Okay. Yeah. Sierra, you remember Sierra, right? She's going through a rough patch. Her landlord basically forced her out, and she's between jobs, and Cassie really wants her close, especially with Boo being so little, and Derek. And we figured it would only be a few months, maybe through the summer, and Derek. He stopped. Why are you telling me this on a Tuesday night? Another pause. Longer this time. Well, we'd need to set up the guest room properly. Sierra has some stuff in storage, and we'd need to rent a truck. And honestly, Dad, things have been a little tight this month with the new HVAC system we had to replace, and we were thinking. And there it was. Not a phone call. A fundraising pitch wearing a phone call's clothes. I put the lid back on my meatloaf. I wasn't hungry anymore. Let me be precise about something, because I think it matters. I am not a stingy man. I drove 40 minutes every Saturday for a year to babysit Boo so Derek and Cassie could have a day to themselves. When their HVAC went out, the one he just mentioned, I had already given them $800 toward it, no repayment expected, because the Georgia summer is no joke and my grandson was in that house. When Derek's car needed brake work last fall, I covered half. I have never once made my son feel like my love came with a receipt. But this was different, and I knew it immediately, the way you know when a foundation is off before you've even pulled out the level. The guest room wasn't for my grandson. The moving truck wasn't for my daughter-in-law's well-being. I was being asked to fund the housing arrangement of a grown woman I barely knew because she had made choices, or had choices made for her. Life is complicated. I understand that. That left her without a place to land. That is not my responsibility. I said, as calmly as I could manage, how much are you thinking? Derek named a number. It was $1,400. Truck rental, new bed frame, dresser, some groceries to stock up, since there'd be an extra mouth. I sat down at the kitchen table. The chair scraped the tile the way it always does. I thought about Margaret. I thought about what she would have said, not to Derek, but to me, privately after. She would have said, Brian, you cannot build a house for everyone who forgot to build their own. She had a gift for the precise sentence. Derek. I said, I love you, I love Cassie, I love Boo more than I love oxygen, but I am not going to pay for Sierra's move in. Silence. Dad, it's not like we're asking you to support her forever. It's just to get started. I gave you money for the HVAC 3 months ago. I'm not a line of credit. His voice shifted, got a little cooler. I didn't realize helping family was such a burden. That one landed. I won't pretend it didn't, because Derek has a talent, inherited from nobody I can identify, certainly not from me or Margaret, for making a reasonable boundary feel like a character flaw. Like my saying no was actually a confession of some hidden selfishness I'd been concealing for decades. I took a breath the way I've learned to take breaths since I started getting older and noticed my temper had a shorter fuse than it used to. Helping family, I said slowly, is not a burden. Being expected to fund decisions I wasn't part of making is a different thing. We're not expecting anything, Dad. I was just asking. You asked for $400 on a Tuesday night with no heads up. That feels like more than asking. He went quiet. I could hear Cassie in the background, something about Bu's bath, and the ordinary sounds of a household in motion, and I felt a complicated thing, which was love and frustration braided so tightly together I couldn't have separated them if I tried. We ended the call without resolution. Not angrily. Derek isn't a bad kid. He has never been a bad kid, but he has always had a slight tendency to assume that, because I love him, my resources are an extension of his own. I don't think he does it consciously. I think he absorbed somewhere, maybe from culture, maybe from watching me sacrifice for years, the idea that a father's job is to solve problems indefinitely, on demand without limit. My job was to raise him. I did that. It almost broke me twice, and I did it anyway. Because that's what you do. But raising him is finished. It finished a long time ago. What I do now, I do out of choice and love, not duty, not obligation, not guilt. The next morning I called him back. I had slept on it, which is always my policy before I say anything final about anything. I'm not giving you $400, I told him. But I'll tell you what I will do. I'll come over Saturday and help you move furniture. I've got a utility trailer I can bring, save you the truck rental. And I'll bring groceries, real groceries, not a gift card, actual food I'll carry in and put in the refrigerator. That's what I'm offering. A long pause. Yeah. Okay. That would actually help a lot. His voice was different. Softer. The ask had been for money because money felt efficient, but what I was offering was something that couldn't be Venmo'd or deposited, which maybe was the point. I showed up Saturday with the trailer, 2 boxes of groceries, and a toolbox. Sierra was quiet and a little embarrassed. She knew, I think, some version of what had happened on that Tuesday call, the way people always know when they've become the subject of a difficult conversation. She was younger than I expected, maybe 28, and she carried herself with the specific exhaustion of someone who'd had a hard few months and knew it. I didn't hold it against her. None of it was really about her. We moved the dresser. We reassembled the bed frame. I fixed a closet rod that had been sagging since Derek and Cassie moved in. Because I can't be in someone's house without fixing something. It's a professional deformation. Bu followed me around the whole time, narrating everything I did in that language 3-year-olds use that is half English and half pure intention. Cassie hugged me at the end of the day. She didn't say anything about the money conversation. I didn't either. Derek walked me to my truck. We stood there a minute in the driveway. Dad, he said. Really? Of course. He looked at the ground. I shouldn't have just assumed. But I get it. I don't want you to think I take you for granted. I looked at my son, 33 years old, tired around the eyes, trying to hold his household together, which is its own kind of hard work, and I felt the thing I always feel, which is that complicated, bottomless love that doesn't solve anything, but doesn't need to. I know you don't, I said, but I'm 60, Derek. I've got a fixed income and a body that works better some mornings than others. I have to be careful now in ways I didn't used to. That's just the truth. He nodded. And, I added, Sierra needs to get on her feet herself. I can be kind to her. Yeah, he nodded again. I know. I think I knew that when I called you. Then why'd you ask? He laughed, small, rueful. Because hope springs eternal. I shook his hand, then pulled him into a hug, because he's still my kid, no matter what. Sierra was gone by September. She found a roommate situation, picked up a full-time position at a logistics firm, landed on her feet the way people generally do when they have no other option. Cassie seemed genuinely happy for her. Bu, who had spent the summer calling her Auntie Ra, cried for about 6 minutes and then asked for a popsicle. Life, in other words, continued. I went back to eating meatloaf over the sink. No apologies. 60 years old, retired, and finally, at long last, eating dinner on my own terms. That, it turns out, is also worth protecting.